So for this next video, I'm actually going to go back to my marginally almost finished model because I need to show you something that's cutting into something that already exists. And I'm actually going to go to the top view just to make life a little bit easier. So the MultiCut tool, which I will probably accidentally call the PolyCut tool just out of old habits, because that's what there was an old tool that did the same thing. This is about, it's another way of adding in resolution to a model. So if I go back into perspective mode for a second, if I want to, when I extruded, or when I made this out of the front end or these out of the back end, it was all with extruding. Or if I wanted to edit resolution without, pulling out geometry, I inserted edge loops. But what if I want to extrude something out of the top of this, but I need more than just these two faces, right? I want to make this a warhammer, so I need something out of here that is more than this. Need a little bit more resolution. But that doesn't really work with the edge loop tool because I don't want to have edge loops going all the way down like that. I don't need that. I just need a little bit over here. So this is one of many things you can use the MultiCut tool for. And I'm also going to show you a pattern that allows you to add more information while still maintaining quads. So I grab the MultiCut tool. It puts me into edge mode automatically. Well, it's sort of like an edge vertexy mode because you can either go to the corners here or go halfway, go in the middle halfway through. And I'm just going to wantonly cut right now. But it works like that. And then once you're done, you hit enter and you've got a whole bunch of new slices in there. I'm going to undo because that was ridiculous. Make sure this is a tool like any other. It will stay on there until you go to another tool. So be aware that you have your polygon slicing tool on hand. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to cut around this segment right here, kind of like create a circle around it, and then add off to the corners so that they're quads. And we're going to go halfway in between these two and these two things in order to get this. And if you hold down shift, it locks you to the center. You can see I can't go anywhere else. I can't even go to the middle or to the corners here. Now if you click and drag forever, you can get to a corner. But if you want to go in the center, you hold down shift. And then you'll see it says close there. It means you're closing it, and hit enter. Otherwise, you will continue cutting. I'm going to go to my move tool for a second. And you can see, all right, we've got a few quads here, but then we've got a 5-sided on each side, and we've got a triangle on each side. Well, if you have a triangle right next to a 5-sided, you will soon have 3 4-sided polygons. To put it another way, anytime that you have a 5-sided poly, one split gives you 2 4-sided polys. So there's really no reason ever for a 5-sided poly. Triangles will occasionally exist in real life. That's fine. But a 5-sided poly, nope, no reason for it at all. I'm going to use the MultiCut tool. I'm going to drag to the corner here to get that corner, and then I'm going to hold shift to click here to get to that, and I hit enter. I'm going to do the same thing for all 4 corners. Drag to the corner, hold shift to get the middle, hit enter. Now what that's going to do is make these all even, but it is no longer, there's no longer any 5-sideds or even 3-sideds. This is a very common pattern to cut into something to get more resolution in an area. Now, still not ideal. See this? These two edges in line? We really don't want that. We really don't want a quad where if you aren't paying attention to this fact that it doesn't look like a quad, right? This looks like a triangle. See, I hover over it, it looks like a triangle. So we're going to go into vertex mode, and we're going to click. I'm going to use my Q so I can easily select these. I'm going to select these 4. I am not drag selecting. If you drag select, you will accidentally pick up other stuff that's underneath here. Remember, you can easily select all of that. That's no good. If you want to really, really, really double check, you can go off into this mode for a second and make sure that this is at the top. But I select all 4 of these, and because I want them to be scaled similarly, I'm going to use my scale tool. And I'm going to scale them away from their centers. Hello? There we go. There we go. I can actually draw these out a lot because then I can shift select and add these 2 and pull them out a lot as well. And now I no longer have anything that remotely resembles a triangle. And I've also made these quads a little less crazy. I mean, obviously they're not always going to be perfect squares or rectangles, but what I had before, that's, especially this one, that's not ideal. That's not terrible, but it's not ideal. Control Y will redo the stuff I just did. So by using the scale tool, I can manipulate these. Do I want it to be like that? No, I don't. I can manipulate these so that they're equidistant from each other. So you select vertexes equal amounts on each side and use your scale tool to bring everything to scale. And now, if I go to face mode and I go into this view, I have much more resolution. There we go. To extrude with. Before I only had the 2 rectangles. Now I have 6, which gives me a lot more edge loops to work with. It's just a lot more detail. And I could also, if I needed to, start to shrink this down or whatever it is I'm trying to do. Whatever spike I'm making, it's just a lot easier to do if I have a little bit more information. I would probably rather use this scale tool. Yeah, I don't like the scale tool on that manipulator. If you really need this to squash in laterally, you would want to extrude a few times and move it just a little bit. So that's a very common thing too, is to not try to, do this all at once. You bring it in slowly. There we go. And you start to kind of shape it like that. Otherwise, you can get a lot of weird distortions and things. Then we kind of spin around it, make sure nothing's looking too terrible. Now it's got a mohawk. All right, but yeah, MultiCut tool. MultiCut tool will add in more resolution for you in a specific area, and many of the edge loops will still work. These vertical ones are still working. These will still work. I think that one will. Yep. That's the only one that won't. So that's like being at the top of something, which is what happened here as well. So this is the original, if I click on these, that's the original top of the hammer. And that does not consider itself an edge loop because it would have to round this corner of the same polygon. It doesn't do that. That doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that at this either because this was the same polygon that came out from the side of the hammer. So this is sort of a new top to something. And also that one won't work. But you still get lots of edge loops. And you can still double click to get a whole side. So you can... nope, it's not gonna do that at all there because there's like this extra split coming down here. You can at least still get that and then do whatever you need to do, probably with scaling because we didn't do anything to split the hammer in half in order to mirror it, so we're kind of self-mirroring. All right, but you still get all your vertical edge loops to work, I believe. Yeah, that was where the extrude for the front of the hammer started, so it never was an edge loop anyways. And I don't think, yeah, this won't be an edge loop either. But that's okay. You won't have perfect edge loops everywhere. But you can see at least how still having continuous edges that make sense can start to come in handy.